Thank you, Catherine. Thank you, Louis, for giving me the chance to stand and speak here. I would like to begin with this sentence that when people are too busy making money, they don't have time to hate. So my paper is about the economic peace as a stage of life in which we will not be able to jump to peace between the Israelis and Palestinians. It has been a difficult time. And we have witnessed 7 decades of conflict. It's one of the longest-standing conflicts in modern history. And the stagnation in the peace negotiations encouraged the idea of economic peace. This is not a new idea. This has been established more than a decade by some Palestinians and Israelis, but had been supported by some and neglected and opposed by many. The conflict, as we talk today about the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, requires the implementation of a peaceful strategy based on economic cooperation, confidence building, and building a trust between the two societies. Of course, with the help of international and regional actors. This idea was initiated from the Palestinian side in 2009 by the Palestinian Prime Minister Salam Fayyad, and from the Israeli side, as we're going to talk about today, by many from the Israeli political elites. The idea of my paper today, I will focus on theoretical and in practical side, but in my presentation, I will only focus on the case study, on the practical side. But I'm using different techniques, trying to combine different methods, because in such conflict, as Peter was talking today immensely about the dynamics of conflict, I come across many things when I talk about conflict. I'm teaching this as well at Sultan Qaboos University in Oman. We look at case by case at the situation in which the Israeli-Palestinian conflict is one of the most intractable conflicts, one of the most difficult and complex cases. We will not be able to find a solution and easily implement it. Some believe that we will not be able to have a solution and this conflict would last forever. But I don't believe so. This is one of the things we would talk about. It's about the attraction law. It's how much we believe that we can change the course of the conflict. This is one of the elements in which I believe that as long as both societies, Palestinians and Israelis, don't believe in peace and they believe in confrontation and conflict, I don't think we're going to go anywhere. But if this course of mentality change, then we might be able to come to some concessions from both sides. My paper is based on few points: economic peace, ripeness, seizing the opportunity, and mediation and negotiations, in addition to third-party intervention, like in Oslo Agreement, Norway, and the United States after that. In fact, my PhD in the UK, I was focused on the Oslo Accords, and I was focusing on the peace process. And I did my PhD at the Peace Studies Department at Bradford University in the UK in 2005. And I've written somehow extensively about this conflict. And as a political analyst, I delivered more than 2,500 interviews to different media outlets, some of which was with Israeli TV stations and some Palestinians and international media outlets. I believe we can change the course of the conflict, but it's not something easy. Is something going to take time? I know that I'm the only Palestinian here, but I believe that most Palestinians, especially in Gaza, where I come from, strongly believe in peace and ending the conflict. One of which caused me to talk about this conflict in this way now, it's the circumstances existing nowadays. I know the course of dynamics, it has been changing all the time, but for nowadays, I think stability would have to be based on building economy, developments, and the interdependency between the two societies is much higher than we think. The economic ties between the Palestinian and the Israeli society and the common understanding which exists for the past decades despite the conflict, this would make the minimum standard of finding a way of transforming this conflict. After 7 decades of complex, intractable conflict, but in which we have to look at the 1993, the Oslo Accord, and why 1993 this Oslo Accord took place. Was it by intention? Was that the opportunity have to be seized? This, I think, was based on the circumstances where both sides have to seize such a chance and opportunity to make peace, not because they wanted, but because they were pushed to. They were at the mutual hurting stalemate because they had to. We understand the fact that the first Palestinian Intifada and the Iraqi war caused the Israeli side to think about it changing the course of conflict. At the same time, the PLO, the Palestinian Liberation Organization, was pushed towards peace because it was on the verge of collapse. There was no intention. But if you look at the society, and this is the main problem, the gap between people and leadership, and this is what we're facing today. On the Israeli side, and my colleagues have been talking about it, Benjamin Netanyahu and his cabinet don't understand well the need of the Israeli society for peace. Same thing on the Palestinian side. Most of Palestinian leaders living in a different castle. They don't look down. They see the world in a different eye. So people are suffering and paying the price for such conflict. But for me, coming as a political analyst and researcher, coming from the Palestinian community and understand well how the dynamic of conflict at the social level, and this is one of the main elements, social structure of the Palestinian side at least, that most people want peace. They want to have stability, and they would like to have decent life, minimum standard of decent life. Same thing on the Israeli side, but how this could happen. I think one of the things we might mention later on that the leadership have to understand this fact, or they have to be changed. In my paper, I did talk about theory, the concept of conflict, interactable conflict, third-party intervention, negotiations, and mediation, which I don't want to just mention. I don't have time for this. But if I would like to talk about the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, we're going to find diversity of opinion, perspectives. For both, like Palestinians and Israelis, when we talk about it, we feel the emotions. We feel that each party would like to represent his point of view. But coming from a common understanding and a common ground, I think we have to understand the need for both societies and the shared fate and the future for both societies. Well, in fact, this conflict has been expanded over time, from territorial to identity to faith to existence, and most people denying each other. This makes it difficult to be able to communicate for me standing here, I think many Palestinians will not like the idea that somebody like me, come from the Palestinian society from Gaza, standing before some of the Israeli colleagues, some people will not like it. I was criticized many times for talking to the Israeli media. But I don't mind as long as I believe that could make some changes within both societies. I think in such situations we have to employ different mechanisms, suggesting third-party intervention amid the situation that lack of communication, lack of understanding between both leaders and communities. I think third-party intervention would make sense. The United States was not able to make an achievement despite the fact at the end of the term of Bill Clinton and nowadays Obama, they're trying to find a way, a solution, but this is not a last-minute deal, it's not even a deal. It's a last-minute proposal for both sides, but this is not working out. The peace, as I said, which was made in 1993, beginning in 1991, after the United States invasion of Iraq, after the Gulf War, and after the collapse of the Soviet Union and the new transformation of the world, and on the Palestinian side as well, the weakness of the Palestinian leadership and the inability to achieve anything for the Palestinian community, that made both sides to think that we have to take a step. Even this step was not really based on sustainable development or sustainable peace, but it was only made as a gesture that something has to be done. Amid this situation, economy, interdependence between both sides was established since 1967. Yes, we talk about conflict, but at the same time we talk about cooperation, and many Palestinians were working in Israel. My father was working in construction in Israel. And many Palestinians were working, many Israelis were working in the Palestinian areas, investing money. There was an open market. Such kind of interdependency still yet exists. With the whole transformation of situation and difficulty of the conflict and complexity, is still one of the areas which cooperation exists is economy, investment, development. Most commodities come to the Gaza Strip coming through the Israeli side. Investment in the West Bank based on cooperation with the Israeli side. But if we look back before the Oslo Accord, I mean from 1967 till 1993, the Palestinian economy was dependent on the Israeli one. Israel has maintained an open door policy until 1990, integrating the West Bank and Gaza Strip into economic orbit, creating a common market between the two parties. And this policy was creating here Palestinian structural dependency on Israel. But after signing the Oslo Accord in 1993, there was hope in the Palestinian Authority, which was established in 1994, that an independent Palestinian economy would be established with the help of the international community and in cooperation with the Israeli side. But to be honest and frank here, the obstacles were from the Israeli government. The difficulties from the Israeli side making it impossible to build an independent Palestinian economy, which could lead to an independent Palestinian state as one of the main elements. But anyway, there was a recession in the Palestinian side. Recession, lack of investment, checkpoints, especially after 2000, the second Palestinian Intifada. But I'm talking about economic peace, but at the same time, I'm talking about the end and the failure of economic peace, which many people believe this is not going to work out because the Israeli-Palestinian conflict is not about economy. It's not investment and development, but it's about identity, existence, faith, many elements to this conflict. But I think the development and economy and building confidence between the two sides, this would be a transitional period and has to be worked alongside any political settlement and negotiations. As I mentioned, Palestinian Prime Minister Salam Fayyad in 2009 made his own proposal for building Palestinian state through institutionalization via economic and development projects. In 2011, Benjamin Netanyahu, the Israeli Prime Minister, announced a package of incentives to develop infrastructure and encourage economic growth in Palestinian areas. How much? 1 minute. All right. We have many proposals. Like Barack Obama in 2015 suggested the same idea that investing in money and economy and development, this would help both to bring peace because negotiation is not going to work out. In this year, 2016, General Gadi Eisenkov, the Israeli military chief of staff, expressed his concern about the situation in the West Bank, suggesting that giving the Palestinians the chance to work in Israel, invest money, and make economic peace, this would make them busy thinking about business and not having time for conflict. Somebody called, sorry. There was an initiative made by Moshe Kahlon, the Israeli Minister of Finance, 2016. He's talking about the same thing, building the Palestinian economy, encouraging peace through economic situation. Anyway, within the Palestinian society, most people don't believe in this. Most of them. I'm talking about the elites, politicians. But if you dig deep down within the Palestinian society, most people would like to have such interdependency and economic growth because you will not be able to build peace without being able to give a decent life based on a minimum standard of living. And this is what most people wish to have. As I mentioned at the beginning, the leadership living in a different castle don't see the situation. This is why I think economic peace have failed, but we would like to seize the opportunity. I don't have time, but I would like to make my conclusion. I have too much to say. Sorry. 2 minutes, is that okay? Okay. Well, the peace between the two parties seems easier said than done. However, movement towards peace always possible and might arrive at the last expected. Such a hope is predicted upon human contact, genuine meetings of people on both Israelis and Palestinians. Sustained contact between the parties is important, like this meeting we have. Yet a third-party intervention is very important. The economic prospects can strengthen both parties' enthusiasm for peace. Yet these activities have to take part at the right time. Okay. Thank you very much.